Today we're going to be checking out the Lyngdorf TDAI-3400. This is Lyngdorf's most powerful 2-channel integrated amplifier that's 100% all digital without any digital to analog conversion, which can negatively affect performance by introducing hiss, distortion, and crosstalk that's found in conventional amplifiers. This is rated at 200 watts per channel at 8 ohms or 400 watts by 4 ohms. This looks very similar to the Lyngdorf MP60 home theater processor that I reviewed a few weeks back, only a little bit shorter. Up front, you'll find a USB-A, calibration mic input, and 3.5mm headphone input. It's got a very solid premium feel with one of the best volume dials that I've ever spun my finger around. Connections include unbalanced RCA ins and outs, balanced XLR ins and outs. There are 2 HDMI 2.1 ins with 1 HDMI out with support for EARC, optical and coax digital ins, and 1 AES input. There's a second USB-A in RS-232 as well as trigger connections. Now you can download the My Lyngdorf app on both Android and iOS. I am going to be using the iOS app. So if you watch my other video for the MP60, which is their home theater processor, this app looks very much the same. So from here on the main page, we can see we have a few different options here. So the first box here that says Rune Streaming, this is your inputs. The next option here is voicing, otherwise known as presets. Right now I have it on neutral, but you can see you have a few different options here as well. And here is the Room Perfect option. Right now I have it on bypass. You can turn it on focus, which will focus most of the correction on the main listening position. Or if you want to choose global and you have more than one listening position or more than one person listening, you can choose global. But for right now, I'm going to keep it on bypass. Now this is cool because if you want to go back and forth and compare what it sounds like with Room Perfect on or off, you can do this really quick and it takes about a second or so to hear the switch. Next box here is 48 kilohertz, so this is what is being fed into the Lyngdorf out to your speakers. So right now I am playing 48 kilohertz material, which is playing on the lower bottom here. It looks like it's Taylor Swift, The Fate of Ophelia. There are also tone controls as well. There's bass, treble, balance, and polarity. And then for speaker setup, I have a primary setup, and then I also have a secondary setup. So I have one of them set up with subwoofers and the other one without subwoofers. So again, I can compare which one I like better. Do I like it better with a subwoofer or without? And it does switch really quickly. And then right here, right in this little circle, this is the volume control, which you can just spin your finger around and adjust the volume. Now in the lower right-hand corner is your settings. So right now, I've already got this set up, but if you are just setting this up right now and you have another device you want to set up, click on the Add Device, and this should automatically find it on your network. Next option here is the Edit Layout. So if you want to customize the layout of how this app looks, you can do that here. You can also change how the app looks. We've got the light setting, or then we have the dark setting. Next section here is the device settings. If you want to rename this, you can rename it other than what it's called by default. We've got your power settings here. There is a sleep timer. There's network standby. There is a trigger function as well. You can also adjust the brightness of the front display. You can enable or disable the screen timeout. You can edit your inputs. So if you want to call it something other than digital 1, you can change that name here under change name. And then you can change some default settings here. You can change the voicing, lip sync delay, sensitivity, and home theater. So if you want to use this as a home theater bypass input, you can do that there. This does have the HDMI input as well, so you can turn on CEC on or off if you want to hook this up to your display. Output settings is your speaker setup. Right now I've already got this set up, but I do have this on custom, so I do have 2 speakers and also 2 subwoofers. Or if you just want to use this as a preamp output and not use the inbuilt amplifiers in the Lyngdorf, you can use this as just a preamp only. So under speaker selection, I have this on generic, but if you have some different speakers such as Radiant Acoustics or Lyngdorf speakers, there are settings for those speakers. Next here is the subwoofer setup. So if you have a subwoofer, you can use the Lyngdorf subwoofer, custom subwoofers, or select no subwoofer. But let's go under advanced. So under analog out, you can run the subs as full range, crossover, tape out, or as a headphone amplifier. So since I have some subwoofers hooked up to it, I am going to use this as a crossover out to my subwoofers, then I'll set the crossover on the next page. From here, you would input your distances for the left and right speakers. Then under analog, you would enter the distance for the subwoofers if you have subwoofers hooked up to it. Next up is your crossovers. We've got the high pass right now. I've got this on high pass over to my speakers. The crossover frequency, I have it at 80 Hertz. And then you have 6 different filters with different slopes. We've got Linkwitz-Riley, and then we've got Butterworth filters here. And then the same thing for the analog outputs. You would change your crossover frequency here, and then also choose your crossover slope, your filter. You've got your level control, speaker EQ. Then again, we have your crossover for the analog outputs as well. Amp delay, level control, signal output mono or stereo. If you have 2 subwoofer outputs, you'd want to put this on stereo. And then the speaker EQ once again for that subwoofer. Then next, you would start Room Perfect. So I've already run Room Perfect. I did it really quick. I went to 94%. Then you can add your focus position, and then you can turn on or off the bypass option, which was on the main page, which made for A/B comparisons really quickly. Next option is the startup volume. You can choose your default startup volume here, and then the max volume if you want to limit it. Enhancements, we've got inner sample clipping correction. This will prevent audible distortion caused by peaks that occur between digital samples. You can enable or disable that. Next option is the subsonic filter. This will block inaudible low frequencies to prevent rumble. I've got that disabled because I do like that extra little rumble out of my subwoofers. And then this has a speaker limiter, which will protect your speakers at high volume. And then the same thing for the analog limiter. Your network settings for Ethernet streaming and Wi-Fi. Then your software version, data backup, and then you can reset the device as the last option. Now to get Room Perfect started, I am going to place the microphone first at my main listening position, and then subsequent positions are going to be placed at various spots throughout my room until you get to about 100% on the calibration. All right, so as far as setup, what do we got these hooked up to?
We've got them hooked up to a couple of Perlessons.
Yep, Perlesson R5Ts, which are the reference speakers that I've had for, what, like 3-4 years now?
Oh yeah, and they're well deserved.
We also paired these up with a pair of Martin Logan ESL X's. Now, I recently got these in. I think we reviewed these a few years back as well.
Right.
But I wanted to get them in because I'm a big fan of the electrostat sound. They have a lot of great high-end detail, really transparent sounding, and it's easy to use them to tell the differences between amplifiers because they are so detailed.
Right. Very, very clear, very transparent.
And also, they are kind of bass limited. So we wanted to use the dual subwoofer outputs on these to pair them up and kind of make the ESLXs, the Martin Logan, sound like full range speakers. So we ran Room Correction, which is Room Perfect.
Right. And that's a great sounding Room Correction, one of the better ones I've ever heard.
Yep. And so with Room Perfect, we went through our list of demo songs. The first one being Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil.
Right.
What was your experience like, Bill?
It sounded, so first we started with the Room Correction off, and it sounded fantastic. It's one of the better amps, and we've done several different, everything from monoblock to whatever, and it sounded fantastic right up until our signature thing in that song is Keith Richards' guitar solo, which can sound very screechy if your processor doesn't have the power, or I don't know, just for whatever reason can't push that signal nice, and it sounded fantastic. Now, when we kicked the Room Correction on, it did kind of get a little screechy on there. I think with that Room Correction, it's very subjective, but for that particular song, when the Room Correction went on, the bass kind of fell out a little bit, the high end got a little screechy, and you did lose some of the clarity in the imaging.
With the Room Correction on?
Right, with the Room Correction on.
Yeah, so one thing I noticed with the Room Correction on was the lower frequencies, the bass, the really deep bass that's in that track.
Right.
It kind of sucked that out a bit, which I think is they're trying to get rid of that decay, that extra rumble that might interact with your room. So I think they're trying to clean that up, which gives it a little bit more focus on certain songs.
Right. There are certain songs where you have a hard time telling the difference of the bass dropping out, but it does give it a much bigger room sound. It also gives you better separation on some tracks. And again, it's subjective. So I found that on some tracks, I liked it with the Room Correction on, and some tracks I liked it with the Room Correction off. But I will say this, just bottom line, it is possibly the best Room Correction I've heard from any processor, just because it's so apparent. And they do give you basically a selection of EQ presets.
Yeah.
So say if you turn it on and you like the way it sounds, but you feel like the bass drops out, well, then you can just choose the EQ that has a little bass, a little extra bass enhancement, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we used the Action, I think it was the Action 2 preset, which gives it a boost. I think it's like a 5 dB boost from about 80 hertz on down. So for the songs that we played, what was that drum song? The Poem of the Chinese Drum?
Poem of the Chinese Drum.
Yeah, so we did that room perfect on and off. With it off, we got a nice bottom end swell, but when we turned it on, it kind of eliminated that. Although it did bring some of that clarity to the, what is it? You can hear the tension on the drum.
Right, you can actually hear the drum head,
Yeah.
and you can hear the decay of the note on the drum head. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it's really crisp sounding when we turned room perfect on. Not that it wasn't there with it off.
No, just like I said, it in some things it enhances, and some things it, just depends on the song itself and, the mix. Dominique Fils-Aimé.
Yeah.
Home sounded, like I really liked it with the room correction off because of the natural bass in that song. When you turn the correction on, the bass kind of dropped out. You did lose some of the detail in notes, but that's one that even when you turn the bass correct, the actual bass enhancement, it added rumble. It didn't add the same quality of the bass as when it was off.
Yeah. That song, Samo, from Vince Staples, where it's just like bass, we had that off and then on. I found that with it off, again, it sucked out maybe the below 20 hertz region, maybe below 30 hertz.
Right.
But then it kind of boosted the mid bass, the bottom end, the mid bass region down low. And
Yeah, absolutely.
we noticed that with that song, and also maybe the Bryan Adams song?
Wonderwall, Ryan Adams.
Ryan Adams, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those songs. His version of Wonderwall is one of those songs that if you want to test your speaker and your amp as far as your bass output, it's not like club bass. It's just good range from top to bottom, and that song really kicks in. And he's got a really nice bass response in that song. So it's a good one for if you want to test a bass enhancement or in this case, with the processor off, it sounded phenomenal. Something else that the processing does is because it's measuring the room and it's kind of making the music fit the room.
Yeah.
In certain songs, you lose the presence, like in
Sweet Jane.
Sweet Jane,
Yeah.
the Trinity sessions from Cowboy Junkies. One of my favorite thing about that recording is you can hear the whole room, the church, because they all basically it was done in one take around one microphone, and with the room correction off, you could hear it so nice and so warm. And when you turn the room correction on, it kind of expanded, but you lost the positions of the people around the microphone, and you definitely lost the low end.
With the 3400 is that we compared it to, this is absolutely an unfair comparison.
Absolutely, but
we had the WIM Ultra amplifier, integrated amplifier, which is really popular nowadays. It's like the most popular budget option.
it's got great functionality. I mean, it's a really good sounding amp.
Yeah, great sound, especially for, I think it's like $300 or $400.
Yeah.
So obviously this is like...
This isn't even the same market.
it's
You're
not
talking
even.
about, something that's like, I don't know, 8 times, 10 times,
Yeah.
no, more than 10 times, like
Yeah.
20 times more expensive.
Yeah.
So,
But it's what we had on hand, so we compared the two together. And especially with like bass heavy songs, the more that you drive that little amp, the more compressed it sounds. So
Right.
with that Vince Staples song, Samo, we were cranking the Lyngdorf, and the vocal clarity stayed front and center. And while the bass wasn't overpowering, either with the room perfect on or off, the bass stayed consistently even with the vocal clarity.
Yeah.
And with the WIM Ultra, I felt like it was getting strained. So every time the bass would hit a little bit stronger, the vocals would recede back.
right, you'd
behind
lose the
bass.
vocals behind the bass.
Yeah. So that's one thing about, I guess you get what you pay for. That's why it costs why it costs more than it does.
Right, and so as far as the Lyngdorf goes, for me, if I was just a 2-channel listening, it's worth the money as far as I'm concerned, because you have that ability with the Room Perfect to change the way certain songs sound to fit your room.
Yeah.
And then it also offers ways to correct for differences in corrected or non-corrected sound. And it's the most active room correction I've ever heard.
While we were listening to the Stones, I mean, Mick Jagger is right. He starts off right in the left side of the sound stage.
Yep.
We got the congas on the right side. No, he starts off in the left side. Congas on the right side.
Yep.
And it's very precisely placed within the sound stage. You can hear where he is in the front of the room, how recessed back the woos are, the background
the
singers.
background singers. Yep. And that was a song where they don't even actually accurately record how many different instruments were used, because basically everyone in the building, all their friends came to, play little bits and pieces. You've got marimbas, you've got maracas, you've got all kinds of little, guys coming in and just playing things just to add a little, the sound. That's why it's a great one to test your speakers, and it's even better for testing your processor, because the sound placement, the sound imaging is it's either really good or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like floating the sound stage. I want to say a few feet beyond our speakers where the placement is, so it's fairly deep sound stage with
And
this.
very accurate as far as the placement. Like I said, we've listened to this song hundreds of times, and we know where the instruments were, where things were when it was recorded.
And also when we compared it to the William Ultra, I found like the vocal clarity definitely had a little bit more weight to it, especially with Dominique Fils-Aimé. Her just the vocal clarity was definitely more front and center. Not that it's a bright sounding, but it just sounded more present in the room, while the William Ultra was a bit more recessed, and she sounded just lighter sounding.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you're talking
a little
about
more edgier.
You're talking about something that's 400 watts per channel at 4 ohms, or 200 watts at 8 ohms, versus I think that thing pushes 100 watts at 4 ohms and 50 at 8.
Yep.
So
still a really competitive little product, for sure.
Well, we're definitely not bad mouthing the Whim. That thing sounds amazing for the price point, and the quality and the quality of the build. It's a nice piece.
Also, when Sweet Jane, every time she says sweet, sometimes that can get really bright. The S's they can be sibilant on some speakers and amplifiers.
Right.
The high frequency detail out of the Lyngdorf is definitely there, while on the Whim Ultra is more. It's kind of rolled off on the top end.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We just used the Whim to have some frame of reference. Not a matter of comparing apples to apples, but you want to hear something else to maybe kind of cement, what you think you're actually hearing on the Lyngdorf.
Yeah, instead of just trying to go off memory and stuff like that.
Right.
So we had something to compare it to. I like the fact that this has dual subwoofer outputs. So if you want to run stereo bass, you can do that. So that's one thing I really liked that the Whim Ultra did not have. But for $400, you can't expect it to have everything.
Right, exactly.
But for $7,500, I would expect it to have dual subwoofer outputs.
Yes.
And for bass limited speakers like the Martin Logans, I mean, that made a world of difference, just sounding full range with the transparency of the electrostats. It made this almost like a perfect pair of speakers for my use case. And again, like Bill said, these are our subjective takes on what this thing sounds like, what these sound like. So this is not an objective thing. Subjectively, I'm a big fan of the Lyngdorf.
I am as well. And I will say this, that I believe if you have some kind of testing equipment, I think even objectively, not as far as the quality of the sound, that's on the person listening, but just the difference in the sound from room perfect on, room perfect off. It was so clear. I'm listening to something and Shane he punches it in, and I could tell every time.
Yeah, I was doing A/B comparisons with, I would turn it on and off, and then with the preset EQ curve on or off, and then you can easily tell when it's on, off, and just when the changes occur. So
right, and it's a great amplifier, great processor, an integrated piece.
Now, at the time of this video, the Lyngdorf 3400 is not an inexpensive piece, and this has come out. I think it came out like 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years by the time you watch this video.
Right.
And we've listened to a lot of stuff within the past 4 years, and this is definitely one of the best integrateds that
we've done. Everything from monoblock amps to standalone to separate units where it's just the processor and we're testing an amp. But as far as an integrated piece with onboard streaming and all that, I would say this is in my top 3.
Yeah. Yeah, but this thing is just chock full of everything because it has everything their high-end processors have. So it's got the room correction on board, dual subwoofer outs. You can get HDMI in out as well. It's got XLR. It's got pretty much everything. You can do Roon support, which is what we used for this. Oh, we used this with Roon and Qobuz, by the way. So that was our sources.
Yep.
And
Pretty much our standard, our go-to guys.
yeah. So if you want to pick up if you guys want to get a Qobuz account, there will be some links in this video's description, as well as links for the Lyngdorf as well. Even though it is a little bit older now, it's still, I would say, kind of the cream of the crop. One of the best you can get out there for an integrated amplifier.
Absolutely, and good quality. It's timeless, and it's one of those things where, unless the standards for music change, as far as like the streaming or all that stuff, as long as that holds good, you got a great unit there.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, those are our thoughts on the Lyngdorf TDAI-3400 integrated amplifier. Have you guys heard one? And what is your opinion on the sound quality? And do you like Room Perfect? Leave your thoughts down below and let us know. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Take care, guys. See you next time.
We'll catch you in the next one.